What is Tempus Resource? I am so happy you asked. Welcome everyone to our overview of what is Tempus Resource. I am Samantha Varner, a customer success manager for ProSymmetry and Tempus Resource. So thank you for joining us today. Really excited to be giving you this presentation. Whether you're a current user, maybe your organization uses Tempus and you're just trying to learn a little bit more, or you're just interested in Tempus as a whole and maybe implementing it for your team. Welcome, we're so happy to have you. So the first thing I want to cover is, what is Tempus Resource? What does this tool do? How does this tool differ from other tools that are on the market right now? Tempus Resource is a strategic resource management tool designed with real teams and their work in mind. So what does that mean? That means that we pair the work that your organization needs to get done. So whether that's your operational work, your keep the lights on, your run the business, or your innovation work, those projects that are going to take you to the next level. We pair that with your team's capacity. So whether that is a standard 8-hour per day, whether that is a specific threshold that they have per year, per quarter, per month to do specific work, we pair the work that needs to be done with your team's capacity. So that way you can see how much work there is to be done and how many team members you have to do the work. You can plan in hours, FTE, percentages. Tempus really gives you the flexibility to plan how you need. And to that point, Tempus as a tool is very, very flexible. Whether you're focusing on the basics for now, which maybe you're just looking to track time against the projects that you currently have, maybe you're hoping from there to go to the planned state where you can plan maybe the next year or the next quarter. Maybe you're extremely advanced and you are looking for what if scenario planning or maybe roadmap management to get more into that strategic portfolio execution. Maybe you are looking more for advanced reporting on the resources that you do have and the projects that you do have right now. Maybe you're looking for an intake mechanism that's going to flow seamlessly so that way you can capture those innovation ideas, you can capture those projects for the upcoming time, and then quickly tie that into, once they're approved, tie that into your resource planning. Do you have the capacity to do this? The great thing about Tempus is you are going to be able to do all of those things at whatever stage you are at, all within one tool. So let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing I want to cover is the data that makes up Tempus. And it's really two simple things. It is going to be the time, the FTE, whatever that is for you, that your resources have available to do the work. So you'll notice here in this example, we are looking at Amy Jacobs, and in my system, I have it defined that 8 hours per day is 1 FTE. So Tempus does the calculation to determine what that is per week, 40 hours per week, and then what that is for each working day in the month. So you'll notice different variation in level of hours, and that's just all due to the working days available in a month. However, you can also define capacity at this FTE level. Maybe Amy Jacobs, as the individual they are just 1 FTE, whether that's at the month, whether that's at the week, or that's at the day. So Tempus is very, very flexible in how you capture this information and what you do with it. So first data set, the most important, is going to be that capacity, the work that you have, the time that you have to give, I should say. The next is going to be allocation, what we call allocation in Tempus. And this is going to be how much time are those resources going to be working on those projects. Now, when I say projects, I want to make a little note here. This may mean audit for you. This may mean, I've also seen opportunities. This may mean phases for you, campaigns, brands. That project is a very interchangeable term, and I just want to make sure I mention that here. So within the project itself, this is a fully staffed project that's running from October 1st of 2020 to the end of March in 2023, as you can see here. And this project is fully staffed right now. We have several options on how to do this, and we'll cover that here soon, but this is where the secondary data is. This is the information that's driving Tempus, that's driving the reports, that's driving your decision making right here. Now, like you can for capacity, you can dig into time, even cost, FTE percentage. So again, Tempus is very, very flexible for your needs. All right, so now that we know the baseline of Tempus, the two most important things is your capacity and your allocation, let's dig into a few more things here. So you may be thinking, okay, how do I make sure capacity allocation, that's great, those numbers are fantastic, but what about the reports that I have to build? So the next thing I wanted to focus on are those attributes that help you further define your resources and your projects. So within a specific resource, and we're just going to look at the resource for now here, you'll notice that each resource has the capability for you to define your attributes. So whether that's department, whether that's employment basis, whether that's your position role, defining their resource managers, location we often see, anything that helps you further define your resources and group them. Attributes are really key to strong reporting, strong scenario planning, the advanced analytics that Insight Plus with Tempus can do. Your attributes are really key to making sure that your information, your data is organized. And again, like I had mentioned, this is also possible to do within each project as well. And again, attributes are really, they're customizable. You can add as many as you need. You can determine which attributes and what type of attributes, all of that information, you get to define what that is. All right, so let's go ahead and focus on resources, because again, we know that there's work to be done. We know that there are always projects, but it's really that resource piece that really drives Tempus. So Tempus Resource has two types of resources. We have a named individual resource. This could also be a role. And we have what we call a demand planning resource. And this demand planning resource, I'm going to go ahead and look for one real quick. This demand planning resource is going to be more of a placeholder. So maybe that you know that your project has it's going to be coming up. You don't want to assign any named resources or any specific roles to it yet, but you want to have a placeholder. So with the demand resource option, what this does is it zeroes out any capacity, but it still allows you to assign that resource to projects as that placeholder. We see this often when during like annual planning periods or any time when you're doing a lot of planning. We also see this used a lot in capturing open requisitions. What's the work that you guys need, and are you able to do that with your current employees? If not, maybe that means you have to hire. Maybe that means you need a contractor. So these demand planning resources allow you to plan in a very generic, a very baseline way, and then later in reporting, we'll see you can compare those plans against the capacity that you do have. So you'll notice here, if you were paying attention to the earlier screen, all of these capacities right here are in purple, and that just means with this demand planning on, this resource specifically carries no capacity. And this resource does not change. You know, you are still able to define what department they're in. You are still able to define all of these things so that way when you do your reporting, they still roll up as appropriate as you need. And then again, that second type of resource, the one that we had looked at before, and let's go ahead and look at Abigail Wells here. This is that resource that carries capacity, whether that's hours or FTE. This is the resource where you know this individual is going to be working on this project, so you assign this individual. We also see, going back to Tempus's flexibility, we also see this being used for roles as well, so very similar to the demand planning resource, but maybe your team doesn't necessarily get down to that individual level. It focuses more on teams as a whole. So maybe your FTE is, you know, you have 10 business analysts on the team and your FTE is 10. So maybe you plan to that period. We have a lot of organizations that also approach their planning that way as well. It's just a matter of your configuration and your setup and making sure that, you know, your team understands how you're going to be using Tempus moving forward. So those are the two types of resources. And then as I had mentioned before, when we dug into the projects, we're going to go ahead and look at this one here. Projects themselves have quite a few options. So The standard typically is the planned allocation data set, right? We also have a demand data set that is available, and if you are a current user and you're not seeing this demand data set, it may just be turned off. I'm going to make note of that. And the demand data set, we often see this for, again, maybe annual planning purposes. Maybe this demand data set captures some type of allocation that isn't necessarily the live or what the team is really working off of, but maybe it captures, you know, what was originally scoped or what was originally planned, and now we have to change the plan a little bit in comparison with our actuals. So this data set is available for you to use as well. But within the actual allocation here, like I said, you can plan in time, you can plan in cost. So each of these resources have a billing rate assigned to them. You can plan in FTE and then also percentage. You can do this planning now at the project level. So this would be for the duration of the project, the start and end date up here. You can do this by each quarter that occurs during the project. You could do this at the monthly level. So again, each month that this project is live. The weekly level, and then again, that daily level. So if you are an organization that really goes down to the details as far as day, that is possible to do within the allocation screen. And then let me go ahead and toggle back to time just because it may make a little bit more sense there. And we're going to look at this at a month level. So in addition to the planned allocation, Tempus also has an actual allocation data set. Now, this project does not have actuals present, but if it were, you could compare the two within this one screen here, or you could look at planned, actual, and remaining. So this is going to give you a good look into what's the progress of my project? How are we progressing? Are actuals much higher than the planned? Do we need to reevaluate this? You know, what's going on with my projects? And the actuals can flow in a multitude of ways that we'll get in here in just a second. So there we have our resources, then we have our projects. Now I want to focus on the different screens and UI that's available to you to do this work. So you'll notice that my home screen here has a lot of tiles. A lot of this is related strictly to admin management of the system, so we're not going to get into everything today. But there are three specific screens that I want to focus on. The first is going to be that single project allocation grid that we were just in. So within project management, I have a list of all of my projects in here. I have pulled in all of the project attributes that I want to see in this list just to get a better idea of what's going on and where my projects are. And from here, I can go in and click into the project. And then once I check the project out, so the project is now checked out to me, no one else will be able to access it. I can come in here and very much like Excel, click on the cell I'm looking to edit. I want to edit Owen James for the month of February in 2022, and I'm going to raise these hours to 150. So within here, I can increase those hours. I can see how that's going to impact him. I can determine, okay, what's going on here? Everyone's in the red. What do we need to do? And then once I save and check in, all other users are going to be able to see that update and see that change. So a few things that you'll notice here. There are two ways of planning within a project, by resource and by task. So the generic task here is going to be more of that project level planning. You're not going down into the individual tasks. Maybe you don't necessarily care about that. However, for the organizations that do, you are able to create tasks at your leisure, how many ever you need, and then from there, assign your resources as needed. So Owen James, as we just updated this, he's now on 150 for that month here, and maybe that means I need to edit out. Maybe I need to add Owen specifically to the performance evaluation. So I can come in here and say, oh, Owen needs to be added to this, type his name. You'll now see Owen here, and I am able to give him hours as needed. I can also toggle to FTE and give him an FTE as needed as well. So a lot of flexibility in this screen. This screen, like I said, once it's checked out to you only. And it's going to allow you to really focus on the one project in this waterfall style, at the resource level or at the task level. Really allows you to kind of just focus in on this one item here. All right, I'm going to save this and check this in. And then when we go back to resources, we see all the resources on the project. Next, we're going to focus on the bulk project allocation screen. So this screen is a way to get specific roll-ups of your information, we'll say, at different levels. So within here, you can do a few things. First, and this is going to be the same for Flatgrid. So first, in default mode, you can make new assignments. So within here, what you're going to be able to do is assign, say I want to assign new individuals to this Apollo Phase 14 project. I come in here, select the project, and say I want to add Ashley. So within here, because we're looking at this at the resource level, I can click down into Ashley, and we are looking at Ashley on Apollo Phase 14 at that generic task level, so that project level, and I now want to update Ashley, let's say for the last quarter of 2021. And we are looking at percentage right now. So again, you can see this, you can enter this information in really in any way that makes sense for you. And after that, once I save and check it in, the assignment has been made. You can also view this information at a resource level. So with Ashley selected over here, we are now seeing all of the projects that Ashley is working on during this time frame up here. And we can see how that's impacting her once we have this heat map overlaid as well. We can click into Ashley, we can see the individual projects that she is working on, her FTE percentage, maybe we want to look at this at time, maybe we want to look at this at a monthly or a weekly or a daily level. So this screen here allows you to really kind of have those roll-ups and then dig down into the information as needed. And then the last mode that we have is going to be the project mode. And this is going to allow you to select the project or projects. You can select multiple. And from there, see all of the resources that are assigned. Let me go back to month just to make our screen a little bit clearer here. So from here, you're going to see all of the resources that are assigned to these two projects, Aurora Phase 15 and Barracuda Phase 9. And once you click down into them, you're going to see Audrey here is only on Aurora Phase 15, and this is the specific task that Audrey is on, and maybe I want to make my edits from there. You can also view this information at a project level. So again, we have Aurora Phase 15 and Barracuda Phase 9 selected up at the top. And now we can dig in and say, okay, I only want to see the individuals that are assigned to Aurora Phase 15, and what are the tasks that they're assigned on, because maybe I need to make some edits from there. So this screen here is the bulk project allocation screen. A few key components of this, it's going to really align with multiple people can be in this screen at once editing projects. So if me and a coworker are working on Aurora Phase 15, however, I'm only focused on maybe Amy, Audrey, and Charles, I can make those edits, and maybe my coworker is focused on Owen, Peter, and Ruth. They can make those edits at the same time, and there's going to be no impact to the system. Everything will save as needed. And this screen here does give you really good roll-ups of the information as well. And then the last screen for project allocation planning is going to be the bulk project allocation Flatgrid. And this, truthfully, is our most popular, our most used screen in Tempus. So within here, it's the same setup as you saw before. You select the dates that you're looking to view information at. In the default mode, we can make new assignments. So say Barcelona Phase 15, I want to add Amy and Ashley. And the difference is going to be what this grid down here looks like. So you'll see here very, very much Excel-like, which is why it's one of our most popular screens. The move to Flatgrid feels very, very natural. So here you'll notice we are sorting by our projects. So we have all of our Barcelona Phase 13, we have all of our Duracell. Once we bring in the tasks, from here, all of the tasks that are under those projects will come in. If you don't use tasks and you only have generic, that's a really good use case for hiding it. And in here, just like you could in Excel, you can click into the cell and you can start planning as you need. In here, you can copy and paste, and you can click and drag. So again, very, very much Excel-like. You'll notice in here that Ashley specifically has been locked, and this just means that Ashley on this project, specifically because I'm updating existing allocation, is locked and no one else can access that while I'm doing it. You can sort this by resource, so maybe you just want to focus on the 2 resources as they are. You can filter out to specific tasks. You are also able to bring in attributes, and this is possible in the single project allocation grid as well, to really give you a better idea of what's going on. So in here I have maybe an assignment status, assignment notes. I could also bring in, what's the department that these individuals are on, what's the current phase of the project. So a lot of good information that you can bring in here. And again, very, very similar to the screen that we were just on. Once you're in resource mode, you are going to be looking at the projects that Amy and Ashley, whoever those resources are assigned to already during this time frame. And when you're in project mode, you're going to be able to select specific projects. Maybe I'm the project manager of 2 projects right now, and I only want to look at the 2 projects that I'm working on. You can pull this information in here. You can set your attributes as needed. You can dig down into different planning levels. You can show different rows, totals, overlay the heat map, a lot of good information from here. Another reason why this screen is one of our most popular is because of the visual indicators that you receive. So heat maps are customizable. We manage heat maps based on a percentage, and you are going to be able to define what those percentages are. So within here, everyone that's showing red is by an allocation percentage considered to be over allocated in my system. However, this software engineer specifically on this project does have time. So that individual could have, be assigned more projects, but it looks like all of my specifically named resources, they are just over allocated. And this is a very fantastic visual indicator of what that is. Just like you could in the single project allocation grid, you can also look at planned and actual in here. You can create specific views to easily toggle to based on your needs. So very, very customizable, very, very user-friendly, just an overall great screen to plan your projects in. All right, so the next thing I wanted us to focus on is timesheets. So within timesheets here, this is where, if you are licensed to do so, if you have this Tempus module, your users can submit the time they're actually working on projects. So as a resource, me, Samantha, I'm assigned to these 3 projects right now, and I am able to come in here and say, here's the time that I spent on these projects. I can submit this timesheet. It flows through to my manager for approval, maybe even a project owner as well. And once approved, this information is written back to that actuals data set. So this really just drives being able to compare your planned, your actual, how close were we, how far off were we, and what do we need to do for the future. This is a fantastic, fantastic way to get that information in this tool. And then next I'm going to focus on 2 different things. So roadmap management, which is a newer feature of ours. We're very, very excited about this. Roadmap management is going to yet again combine that resource capacity data with that project allocation data. So in here, I have created already a project priority roadmap. And what this roadmap is showing us is I have this roadmap grouped to 2 levels. I am showing the project priority, which is a project attribute, and then the phase of the project, which again is a project attribute. So in here, it is going to show me, what's going on with these projects, where are they, where are we right now, what's going on, kind of give you an overall view of the status of your projects. The amazing thing about the roadmap management is that it allows you to identify risks that you define when it comes to overallocation, concurrency, and progress. So overallocation can be defined by you. So in this roadmap right here, I have overallocation defined as 125% allocated or above. So when this is shaded, you will notice here, some of these are not shaded and most of these are. So this is indicating that my resources are extremely over allocated. And what I could do, say I know Prelude Phase 13 is a very important project that needs to get done, and specifically in May, we need to be ramping up on it. I can click in to the time period on this project, and I can see, okay, who are the resources that are most at risk? So we can see Amy Jacobs, 252% allocated. That's not good. Where is the most of her allocation spread? Owen, Charles, you were able to see your resources that are at risk for this project getting completed on time. Additionally, you can apply a concurrency risk. So the concurrency risk is going to allow you to say, hey, I only want my resources working on at most 5 projects at a time, 3 projects at a time, 10 projects at a time. My roadmap here is configured to be 5 projects. And you'll notice, for as over allocated as everyone is, they're actually pretty good when it comes to concurrency looking out into 2022. However, December, for example, we do have some concurrency risks. And what are those? And again, Amy Jacobs, she is assigned to 6 projects during the month of December. And here are the top 5 projects that she is assigned to right now. So again, this is delivering you information that Tempus has always had, but in a different way that makes it very visual. I know we have received a ton of feedback on this roadmap management piece, and we're really, I'm so excited that it's out into the world now. And then the last thing I wanted to focus on is progress. So with progress, what this is going to do is provide a percentage at the end of the project. And progress can only be calculated when there are actuals present. So whether those actuals are submitted through a timesheet, a Tempus timesheet, whether those are manually entered, whether you are uploading them from a different tool, maybe you're using our API, however that is, this is going to compare actuals to planned. So you'll notice here, I don't have very many actuals in this system, but this project here is 8% complete. And you'll notice that it even gives you a visual color indicator from a full color to a muted color of where this project stands based on progress. So yet again, just another fantastic view to glean information very, very quickly. And then we have report management. So I'm not going to get too into the weeds with individual reports and how to build them. We do have webinars on those, so I highly encourage you to check that out. But the report management side of things is going to allow you to, this is where your data, your capacity, your allocation, and your attributes, the 3 of those really come together. So let's go ahead and look at a planned versus actuals pivot grid report. So this report is very similar if you're familiar with pivot tables in Excel and just Excel in general, is going to give you, this one specifically is configured to show projects. Next, we are showing the resources assigned to them and then their planned allocation compared to the actual allocation. So in here, you're going to be able to say, you know, this is the report that I want to provide to my leadership team, to my finance team, to my analysts, whatever you need. These reports can be exported and delivered to them. We also have graph style reports. So whether we are looking at maybe our planned versus our capacity. So our planned is this bar chart here, and we don't necessarily care about the individual projects. We just want to see an overall to know where is our head count and where is our plan for our projects. So you'll notice here we're doing fine. We have more capacity than we have projects. And then as we get into the later half of the year, we have more projects and more hours assigned to them than we have capacity. So yet again, just a great visual indicator of where your team is. And then we also have a portfolio planner report that really gives you the power to organize your projects based on priority. Maybe you want to force projects in, force projects out. Maybe you want to see what happens when a project priority shifts to, hey, this needs to get done right now, and where is that going to align over your capacity? So this one here, very colorful. We are looking at these projects that have been determined by me, the user, that they are priority, and we are looking at base capacity here. So this report really allows you to get more granular and really allows you to determine, okay, what is important to us? What do we truly want to be seeing in these reports? And again, You can export this to Excel to provide to your leadership team, any presentations that you need to do on your projects. This is a fantastic report for that visual. And then the final thing that I want to cover today is Tempus What If. So this is the model side of things. This is going to be where you are really looking at, you know, what happens if I need to push something out? What happens if I have reduced headcount? What are going to be the status of my projects? So within here, how I have this configured, we are looking at all of our projects. I have pulled in priority and maybe data set preference as well. In here, you can click and drag. So maybe this Astrophase 7, this actually needs to get moved up. Maybe it needs to get moved out. And what is the impact of this on my resources? So if you can, let's look at this marketing line here, specifically in the month of July. We're at 51% with where Astrophase 7 is right now. And as we move this, you'll notice that that percentage has changed. So if I go into the past, it goes up to about 54. If I go in the future, we're looking at 48. So again, this allows you to have a sandbox area where you can say, what happens if a project gets canceled? What happens if a huge project lands on our lap and it is the highest priority of the year? What happens if I increase my headcount by 2 resources? Where are we going to be there? What happens if I decrease my headcount? Maybe Sue is retiring or Warren is leaving, and what's going to happen if these people leave? Where are these teams going to be at? So again, just a sandbox environment for your teams and your leadership to make educated decisions on what's going to happen in the future. I know a lot of teams had to use this, you know, when looking at the pandemic and considering the projects that can get done and what's going to happen to business. A lot of teams use this when they're doing their annual planning to determine, hey, not every project can start on January 1st. So where does it fall in, and where are our resources going to be over allocated per the heat map below? Where are these things going to have the greatest amount of impact? And you can even view this at the resource level as well. I mean, you can get in here and determine maybe, Amy, what happens if we decrease the time that she spends on this Python phase 10 here? What happens if we increase it? Again, this is just giving you another fantastic view to have that safe space to change up your data a little bit and see what happens without impacting your live data. This what if area is really what sets Tempus apart. This is what can help your organization make decisions that they just were never going to be able to before. Maybe this information was held in an Excel file. Maybe this information is in a combination of a project management strict tool and an online Excel file. This brings all of this information together and allows you to make those educated decisions. So with that, we did not even cover everything that Tempus offers. I really wanted to keep this short, quick, as informative as possible. If you are a current user or your organization is using this tool and you're looking to learn more about it, I encourage you to contact your Tempus admin at your organization just for explanation on how your team is using the tool, what features they are using, what's most important, what attributes, to really get a better understanding of how Tempus pairs with your process. And if you're new and you're just curious to see what Tempus is, I highly recommend you reach out to us, schedule a demo, get some more time, maybe even get a trial set up with your own data so that way you can play around and see what the impact could be for your team. If you are interested in learning more about specific features like resource request workflows, maybe you want to go into a little bit more of the project options, milestones, you want to dig deeper into reporting, I highly recommend you check out the Tempus University playlist on our YouTube page. That's going to give you a true in-depth look on how to do specific things, how to build a model, what is Tempus What If in practice, really give you a lot of good information there. Thank you for joining me today. So happy to have you, and I hope we get to talk soon.